start with you first, Glenn. Tell us a little about yourself.
Well, I'm a resident of Frankfort. I've been here for 12 years. Prior to that, I lived in New York. Although most of my adult life I was away serving in the U.S. Navy. Mm-hmm. I'm a retired Navy chief, veteran of Vietnam, and had a second career in security management. And I also worked in New York as a private investigator and a bounty hunter. So I have a background as a fugitive hunter. So I have a little bit in common with the characters I wrote about, except my experience is modern day, of course. Mm-hmm. The characters I wrote about were from the 19th century.
Well, to get back on a bounty hunter, I mean, it's just, I think we've all seen Bounty Hunter, the TV program or whatever.
Right.
Was your life anything similar to what?
No, actually, the term that they like to use today instead of bounty hunter is bail enforcement agent. And I would say the work is probably 95% boredom and 5% terror. Uh-huh. Most of the time you're driving around bad neighborhoods, drinking cold coffee and talking to stupid people, but that's pretty much the life of a bounty hunter. But I was pretty good at it, pretty successful, but I got to a point in time in my life, I became conscious of my age, mm-hmm. especially when I first became a grandfather, and I said, well, I think it's time for me to stop knocking down doors and dragging fugitives out of their beds off to the jail. It was a little too dangerous.
So you decided to become an author then?
Well, I retired. I was a district area manager for a local security firm, and retired a couple of years back, and I decided to start writing, which has always been a passion of mine, and I've always been very interested in frontier law enforcement, so I chose to write a book about those characters.
Were you a big Western fan?
Yes. As a young boy, of course, I know now I'm going to date myself, but I was a big fan of Gunsmoke, James Arness, and Amanda Blake, and there was Have Gun Will Travel with Richard Boone. Uh-huh. I think in the late 50s, early 60s, most of the programs on television, the popular ones, were the Westerns. Mm-hmm. And that's where I first became very interested in it. And of course, there was Wyatt Earp was a television program. Bat Masterson was another one. Gene Barry played Bat Masterson. As I got older and got more into the research of it, I found out that the characters were a little bit different than what was shown on television. It was, and I found some very interesting information, I think, on them.
Now, I'm not sure if we've mentioned the title of your book, but what is Keeping the Peace, Tales from the Old West.
Right.
And you have any tidbits you could give us about, I mean, just some things we didn't know about some of these legendary lawmen?
Well, I found Wyatt Earp, for example. I found out that throughout his life he was was a person who did not know fear. He feared no one. And he, even as an elderly gentleman living a quiet retirement in Vidal, California with his wife Josephine, he was in his, I think, mid-70s at the time, and there was an armed robbery in progress in Vidal, California, and there was only one lawman in the town, and any backup was miles and miles away. So Wyatt Earp got a knock on the door from the local constable asking him for his help. So he got out of his rocking chair and he intervened in this armed robbery, and that's part of the book, the story about how he handled that, and it was just amazing. He went face to face with an armed robbery in progress, and he himself was unarmed. Mm-hmm. He had no authority as a peace officer. He was retired, and he was able to, with announcing who he was and the perpetrator recognizing him, mm-hmm. surrendered his gun to him immediately.
I guess he was somewhat in awe of
Yes.
this legendary man.
Yes, sir. Yep.
And but do you, you've written this book, and I guess you say it took a while to write it, maybe?
There was a lot of research that went into it, yes. Of course, I worked on it on a part-time basis, but I spent about, I think about a year doing research for it. And another character that's very well known is Bat Masterson. And most people know that he carried a cane and he had a limp when he walked, and very few know about how that came to happen to him. And in the book, I wrote a story about the incident where he was wounded and left with his lifelong limp, and it was his only one-on-one gunfight in his life. And a lot of people may believe that Bat Masterson saw many gun battles in his career, but he only went in one where he was, one-on-one. And it was a fight over a saloon girl named Molly Brennan in Sweetwater, Texas. The person that shot Bat Masterson was an Army corporal named King, who was jealous and in a rage, and he was, of course, intoxicated on top of that, and he went after Bat Masterson and for spending time with the girl he loved. So.
Okay. Do you plan another book?
Yes, I've got another one in process now, which I hope to have published next year. It's going to be more about the, of different characters, but also I'm going into the relationships they had with wives and lovers. I think there may be some interest in that too.
Well, it might be.
Yeah.
Now I understand this, of course, this being your first book, this will be your first Kentucky Book Fair.
Very first experience. Yeah.
How do you feel about that?
I'm really excited about it. I've every step of the way getting my book published, and then seeing how well it's been doing. I found out, I always knew about the book fair. I used to go every year as a person looking to buy books, but when I had my book published, I sent a letter to the book fair folks, and they selected me to participate as an author. So I'm really excited about it. I don't know very much about what's going to occur when I get there, but I'm expecting to do well.
Well, we wish you the best.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you for being here.